Good afternoon. I'll be speaking with you today about some techniques and approaches you can use to improve your reading abilities. So I've titled this talk and this module, How to Read Like a Grad Student, and I've done that really intentionally. I want you to think about reading in college as if it were your job. And as many of you know, when you're a graduate student, reading is your job. So we're going to think about it in that mind frame. So I think one of the big challenges that college students face is that there's a gap in understanding between students and faculty when it comes to what reading consists of, what the expectations are. So on the student end, students often see reading as something they need to get through as quickly as they can, but also as something quite overwhelming. So in a typical undergraduate course, you could be assigned half of a book a week, or in some cases, a book a week. You might have 100 pages of reading, you might have 200 pages of reading multiplied by 5 classes. So I think as a result of this, a lot of times students just skip portions of reading. So a study by Joseph and Harl, you see the data down in the bottom, found the average student spends about 11 hours a week on course readings. Another major multi-year study, the National Survey of Student Engagement, finds that students spend less than 16 hours a week on reading. Really, they found very few students spent more than 16, and most spent more in the 6 to 10 hours a week range. This contrasts with faculty expectations. So in planning courses, faculty use the Carnegie System. So that ties credit hours to volume of work, with the idea that across the United States, college students would have similar expectations for similar courses. So what the Carnegie System suggests is that for each credit hour in a course, students will complete 2 hours of reading and work outside of the course. So for a typical college student taking 5 courses, which is a full-time load, that means 15 credits, right? 5 times 3, 15 times 2 hours of work a week. That's 30 hours of work outside of class time. Class time would account for 1 more hour per credit. So you're looking at 45 hours of work a week. That can be a lot, and that can be daunting. So what I'd like to suggest to you is that to help bring these two expectations together, you learn to read faster, read better, and read more efficiently. For the next few minutes, I'm going to outline 5 general principles that I think will help you with this. And then afterwards, within the module content, I'm going to present 4 techniques, each one designed for a slightly different type of reading that can help you read more efficiently. So, number 1, you probably already know this, you want to reduce distractions in your environment. This will vary a bit. Some of us actually like a little bit of distraction, but it needs to be a controlled, consistent distraction. So to give you an example, I've been working with students for years to improve their reading skills. Oftentimes, students find that listening to music very quietly and music they're familiar with in earbuds as they read or study is helpful. And I think what's going on there is that in the absence of a distraction, they find their mind wanders a little bit. But when they have a consistent, predictable distraction, music they're used to hearing, it helps them focus on the task at hand. It creates that background noise. What you definitely want to avoid is unexpected distractions. And you're probably thinking, how can I avoid unexpected distractions? Well, the largest source of unexpected distractions for us now come from our phones or for pop-up alerts within our browsers, right? So if you're constantly getting notifications, you can't predict the pattern. You don't know when someone's going to text you. You don't know when you're going to get an alert, but you know it's there. You know there's a possibility. So you've set yourself up for a state of constant distraction. If you can avoid those, if you can turn your phone off, if you can silence it, if you can put it in a separate room for a short period of time, you're going to enable yourself to read more effectively. So that is what I do when I'm preparing for articles, when I'm doing a literature review, when I need to read a lot. I set all distractions aside. So email app is closed, phone is in a different room. Ideally, I'm by myself, and I know that I'll be able to focus. 2, a lot of times we think of reading as reading every single word. If you have a 500-page book to read, you're going to read every single page. Effective reading is actually about skimming. You're not necessarily going to read every single word. The challenge here, and I hear this from students all the time, is how do you skim? So it's very easy for me to know what to skim within my field. I've been reading research on the same topics for years. It's much harder for you as a first-year college student to figure out what you need to skim. So what I'm going to suggest to you is this. Be cognizant of the fact that you probably don't want to read everything, right? Use the 4 strategies I'm going to show you in a few moments to help direct your skimming. And just in general, keep in mind that you're going to get better at this as you progress as a student and as a professional, because you need to read effectively really in any sort of profession. So a few quick notes. You're going to have a plan or strategy to help you skim. We'll talk about that in those four techniques. You are going to pay attention to the pressure points and pay attention to signposts. Those are going to vary depending on the type of reading you're looking at. So again, more on that when we get into the 4 techniques. Third point, you want to annotate in some way. That can be a physical annotation with a pen or pencil. That could be an annotation taken within a PDF document, or it could be notes on a sticky pad, whatever's going to work for you. The key is you want to get some kind of physical interaction going on with the text. So annotations aren't necessarily about giving yourself notes you can come back to later. They're about creating a cognitive engagement between your mind and the text. When you do that, you're able to retain things, and you also reduce regressions. Regressions are when you've read something, you get to the end of it, and you say, oh, I have no idea what that paragraph said. Let me go back and reread the paragraph. It happens to all of us, but if you find yourself regressing a lot, it means you're not focusing the way you need to be. And annotations can be one technique for reducing that. 4, you want to apply the appropriate strategy for the type of reading. And this is another reason why it gets easier when you're a graduate student or when you've been studying for a little while and you're just taking courses in your major. You read a lot of the same type of material over and over again. So you get used to the rhythm of it. Until you're at that point, you're going to struggle a little bit. So again, I'm going to suggest you find the appropriate reading strategy for the type of text and you apply that. And that will help you to some degree improve your efficiency in reading that particular type of document. Finally, and this is something I'm terrible at, by the way, I want you to take frequent breaks. I would say every 25 to 30 minutes. You don't want to try to sit down and read. If you're trying to read for work purposes, you don't want to read for hours on end. So ideally, if you can give yourself a scheduled break, set a goal, read for 20, 25, 30 minutes, then take a break, have a snack, have a drink of water, go for a little walk, and then come back and continue reading. This will help keep your mind fresh. So thank you for listening to this video. Thank you for joining me for this today. What you're going to do now is learn about the 4 different approaches, and you're going to practice applying one of them based on the course you are taking this semester. So you want to pick the approach that seems most helpful for what you're studying. Thanks for listening, and good luck.